She caught her, bow! Switch kick! And she was out. I felt like a little Kevin Hart right there. Switch kick. What's poppin', y'all? Welcome to another episode of Rock Pops MMA. I'm your ringmaster and host, Rock Blackwell. This episode, we're popping on UFC Fight Night Fox 21. The main event featured Maia and Condit. And I want to take that first. As a matter of fact, I want to take the entire card in reverse order because that's the way the fights went from least awesome to most awesome. So let's start with Maia and Condit. I have to say, I was really disappointed in the way that Condit even was engaging in the fight in the first place. Right there in the first round, Maia gets him up against the cage. You know that what he's good at is jiu-jitsu. So you want to be able to keep your distance. But instead of doing that, he lets him get wrapped up. And instead of fighting the takedown, I think he got him with a double leg, Condit ended up just sitting down. Now, I don't know if it was in his training camp that he had been working on being able to fight from guard, but it was a bad decision to go ahead and sit down on the mat with Maia in the first place. So it was only a matter of time before Maia got his back and gave him the rear naked choke and choked him out. With a loss like that fast, in such a way that you should not have been in the first place, kind of wasn't surprising, yet it was also real good to hear Condit in the post-fight interview say that he's not so sure that he should be fighting on this level anymore. Look, I never want to see a guy quit. I never want to see a guy have to go out. But I do respect the fact that if he knows that he doesn't have it anymore, that he can't go at this pace on this level anymore, that he's got a gut check and is able to step back. The next fight I want to talk about is Pettis versus Olivera. After a hard loss to Barbosa back in April, it was good to see Pettis come back out and get this win. In all 3 rounds, he had great defense from the guard. Yeah, he got taken down a lot, which is no surprise for Pettis. That happens. Although he stuffed several of the takedowns, and when he was in guard, he was able to spin into the guard and get on top. Several times Olivera had him from the back, had him on the ground, but Pettis would roll and spin into the guard and be able to mount. It was also good to see him utilize some of the nasty leg kicks that he himself ate from Barbosa a few months back. And finally, he puts him away with the guillotine. I'm just glad to see Pettis get back on a winning streak when I believe out of his last 5 fights, he's lost 3. As a matter of fact, I believe he lost 3 in a row coming into this fight. So he really needed this victory. Now, the fact that it's a featherweight is interesting because there's not a lot of featherweights left to make a run at the belt for Conor McGregor. And the fact of the matter is, we don't even know if Conor McGregor is going to make it back to 145. Now, he said he's never had a problem making weight, which may or may not be the case. But with all of the hype that he could come from fighting in the 155 division, I don't know that there's much hype in the 145 division, except maybe with Pettis. But to be honest, I gotta tell you, after having watched Conor McGregor over and over again, especially in these last 2 fights against Nate Diaz, who I think is a better fighter than Anthony Pettis. Yes, Pettis has some wicked kicks, some wicked finishes over the years. He's already been the lightweight champion before, and he's a good fighter, don't get me wrong. But I think when it comes to grit and being able to go into those championship rounds, Nate Diaz was better poised to be able to beat Conor McGregor late than Anthony Pettis would be. You just can't train for those championship rounds unless you've been there a couple times. So I'm glad to see him in 145, but honestly, I don't see him being able to take the belt from Conor. Now, if Conor vacates the belt and he's still got to go up against Aldo, I don't know that he can beat Aldo either the way Aldo looked last time. Aldo looked like a machine. Next, we're talking about the strawweight women's division fight. Paige 12 gauge Van Zant against Beck Rawlings. Paige Van Zant had a wicked game plan. She came out in absolute not Paige Van Zant form. She didn't go in immediately and get in the clinch. I was telling my wife, who was watching the fights with me, she was utilizing leg kicks over and over. She threw way more leg kicks than punches. And I could tell that she was really trying to work the distance. She didn't want to be within fist striking distance of Rawlings. She knew that Rawlings was going to be a harder hitter, stronger at that particular part of fighting, so she did the right thing and she kept distance. Boy, was she pushing the pace. I was kind of surprised with how active she was. But either she wanted that long distance with leg kicks, or she closed the distance and she utilized her clinch, which she feels most comfortable with. Oh, by the way, in round 1, she tries a spinning heel kick and Rawlings laughs at her. She's like, "What are you thinking? That was never going to work." I believe DC even mentioned that in the post-fight interview with Van Zant. Then, in round 2, she got her with what Van Zant calls the kick the can. I just call it that nasty switch kick. She caught her, bow! Switch kick! And she was out. I felt like a little Kevin Hart right there. Switch kick. That was awesome to see Paige Van Zant come back and do that. She must have learned that from Dancing with the Stars. Lastly, the first fight on the card, that lightweight fight between Lauzon and Miller 2. This must be the year for second fight awesomeness. Not only was the McGregor-Diaz number 2 fight crazy awesome, this fight had to follow up their last fight, which was the fight of the year back in 2012. They did not disappoint. They went all 3 rounds and it was sick. Basically, from my point of view, Lauzon controlled the pace of the fight, what was happening in the fight. But the fact of the matter is, even though he was able to take him down and do different things, Miller's strikes were more significant when he actually landed them. Yeah, you can grind on a guy and ring control him and push him up against the gate and get him on the ground and grapple with him. But if you're not really in a true danger of submitting him, if you're not really getting in significant strikes, all that's going to pale in comparison to what the other fighter is doing. In this case, when Miller teed off, he teed off. So this was a great fight. And guys, honestly, it was an all-around great card. Not a lot of bad blood, just people going out there, doing what they need to do, competing. Tell me, what did you guys think? Who did you think deserved the fight of the night? What did you think about Condit's loss? What do you think about Pettis moving to featherweight? Do you think he has a shot at the title? Are you even interested in the strawweight division? Whatever it is, comment below, let me know. As always, thank you for tuning in to this episode of Rock Pops. Until next time, keep it poppin'. Peace.